Hello, good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever moment you are listening to the Workplace Ninja Netherlands podcast, where we are diving into Intune, Entra, Bit, what's new. So we try to keep and to cover the newest things that are published in preview, GA, whatever in Intune, in Entra, so around modern workplace. Um, Before kicking off this moment, we had an event. I think it was yesterday, and two of the guys who are participating in this recording were there. So I will do some questions on that. But before, my name is Frans Oudendorp, and I'm with Erik Loef, Kenneth van Surksum, and Pieter Daalmans. And together we are representing the Workplace Ninja Netherlands in this recording. So good to see everyone is back. Kenneth and Erik, you were at Yellowhead Live, and live stream, but also with some on-premise presence in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, in the Microsoft office. How was it to be at such an event?
Erik, Kenneth?
Yeah, it was great. It was an idea of 6 years ago during the MVP Summit. And now there was a sort of second edition with all the industry experts. It was nice to see that all Microsoft SOC-based, well-known SOC-based companies were on-prem. We were on-prem. There were 1,500 viewers online, so it was, for my opinion, a great success. It was deep dive technical, which I like, and also some vision from Microsoft about the Microsoft Immune strategy, what they're now aiming at for as Defender strategy. So for me, it was a perfect, organized and good content. Really nice day and evening.
Yeah, so we were actually invited in the Microsoft headquarters in Schiphol. And there's for the people who've already been there, they have like a nice keynote room with beautiful screens over there. But the whole setup was also, because it was live streamed, it was of course also captured by cameras. So the organization did a really nice job setting up that so-called, it was more like watching maybe a news program or another program on television. You were part of the audience. Some very interesting sessions, all security related and really deep dive, so not overview. Even interesting sessions now about how to use agents within AI. So I can think for when speaking for myself, but definitely also on Erik's behalf, that there were a lot of things to reconsider and think about, and so we actually learned a lot.
Yeah, and it was live, so yellowhead.live. That's the URL that was used for live streaming. So there are no recordings at the moment, and they will probably not be published.
No.
So if you want to see these kind of sessions, please keep an eye on the socials, especially Yellowhead. Probably there will be another moment.
It's announced. Next year there will be another Yellowhead. Maybe on a very warm island.
That was wishful thinking, but they were thinking about the Caribbean somewhere, indeed.
Hopefully it is, because I was invited to help with the technical stuff, but unfortunately I wasn't able to join them. So I really hope that there will be another one, so I can help a little bit on the technical part there. It was really impressive to see what kind of stuff is used to represent these kind of presentations to the community on a live stream. Nice. But On the other hand, we will capture the technical stuff and bring that to Switzerland if we do the Workplace Ninja Summit. So we will reuse the stuff again for our summit, so to say. Next, let's dive into the Intune, what's new. And I saw a really interesting topic popping up yesterday that was during Yellowhead Live. That was, I think it was Leo Bella, the product group member. What is it? Owner of Intune, the director of Intune.
Of Intune, yeah.
Yeah. Leo is the director of Intune. He announced E5 security for Business Premium. Who wants to elaborate on a bit on that? Because I think it's really important that Microsoft is moving this way.
Yeah, I think for a lot of customers having Business Premium, and I think Eric can also talk about that. The extra features we always talk about, and Microsoft always talk about around automating security things, was always, oh yeah, but it's an E5 license, too expensive, so we need to have M365 E3 at the minimum, and then maybe the E5 security add-on, and that cost in the past cost a lot of money. So by Microsoft opening up the E5 security add-on for also Business Premium customers, that's, I think, a huge announcement, and I hope that customers will adopt this, because it will help their to keep their environments more safe than it is today. So they get access to a lot of nice new features and automation.
Yeah. Erik, if we look from your side, you elaborate multiple times on these kind of things. You build your own stuff on top of E3 security within your organization. What is your opinion on the move of Microsoft regarding E5 on Business Premium?
Yeah, this is great, especially the pricing, because E5, okay, but the pricing is also Business Premium like. So $12, and you get Defender for Endpoint P2, and you get Defender for Identity, you get Defender for Office P2, and you get Defender for Cloud Apps and Entra ID P2. Normally, Entra ID Plan 2 is normally $9. So for some cases, we needed to invest for a customer for Entra ID P2. So the step up from Entra ID P2 to this E5 is just $3, and you get so much back, especially from a post-breach. You get Defender for Endpoint P2, so you can have you can do the hunting queries and all the history which services started, which you don't have in Business Premium, the Defender for Business. So that's a huge advantage for a post-breach or doing something. You not only react on that there is something wrong. Now you can do investigation. You see, you can the timeline, etc. All that kind of features. So also for MSPs companies who are reselling a Business Premium, their stock will get more tools when you enable this, and especially the customers. The first step from our perspective will be all customers who have Entra ID P2. We will convert them to E5 because the step is just a little bit, and you get so much more for the almost the same price. So that will, from my opinion, the first step we are going to take. And of course, every hack, every incident starts with an email. So also the Defender for Office P2. That's great, but yesterday I heard also something that it will be Defender for Communication, or the Defender for Office will be renamed or something. So that will also be great.
Renaming Defender for Office, I think they are talking already on that for many years. So it will probably happen sometimes.
Yeah, but and of course, Defender for Cloud Apps is not something any customer of me is using. So that will be also a new a way to explore, because every app will be is the sort of SaaS application. So that will also be new for many MSPs, especially for my company. And new challenges ahead. See.
Yeah, so to add to that, for example, where Erik and I have been talking a lot is, of course, the detection of the adversary in the middle attacks going on. With Entra P2, we now get identity protection and can put, for example, conditional access policies in place to directly block this kind of behavior. What's really, again, it's a good step. What's missing though is that it doesn't provide enterprise functionality for the Windows OS. So basically all the stuff going on with virtualization-based security, like device guard, etc., will still not be available within this add-on. So again, I think it's a good step in the right direction, but it's not like we are getting like E5 total comparable functionality, especially not on the endpoint side. But of course, we do have on the cloud side and within Entra and all the stuff going on. So it will be interesting to see how many companies will adopt that. And potentially it can also grow into maybe an E5 add-on for compliance in the future as well.
Yeah, and also regarding this, but in E5 security in general, when you look at the enhancements that have done within the products in the last year, they are big, but please keep an eye on Defender for Cloud Apps, because that is one of the products that's underestimated, in my opinion, within the Defender suite. And they are doing a lot of things there. I've talked to one of the guys presented on Yellowhead, Ran Marom, last few days, and I got a glimpse of what's coming, and it's really impressive what they are doing at the moment. So please keep an eye on that. And that also will help within E5 on Business Premium.
Indeed, so there was like a session yesterday talking about all the stuff going on in Cloud Apps, especially all the old apps and all the rights that are there, and that you can actually put policies on it to disable the app when not being used, etc. But I think that they forgot one important remark is, of course, that when it comes to giving consent to these kind of applications, we actually have like a simple switch that we can turn on, where it's not possible for end users to give that consent anymore, unless they are what we call low privilege rights from publishers which are verified by Microsoft. And in my opinion, that is still the first thing to do. We can only start cleaning up once we have this setting in place and make sure that we govern this.
Yeah.
On the other hand, and I was talking with Erik about that yesterday, people who visit an event like Yellowhead are doing this, but we have to remind ourselves that the amount of tenants that Microsoft manages, I think that maybe 90% of those tenants are not even managed by somebody who has proper IT knowledge on this subject. So, and they want to protect those customers as well. They have, I think, a more broader scope when it comes to these kind of things that they are trying to implement.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more on Defender for Cloud Apps, the session from yesterday is not available, but I will do a recording with the few people from the Defender for Cloud Apps team beginning of April, so after the MVP Summit, when I'm back. With Ran, with Itai, with some program managers there. So please keep an eye on Talking Security when the recording will be available. So sorry, shameless plug for my own podcast, but related to this, and I think it's really good to know what Defender for Cloud Apps is doing, because it's transitioning into another SaaS security instead of a CASB solution that it was in the past. related to Defender for Cloud Apps, and I think it's good to mention that one also is that there is a change in Defender for Cloud Apps, and if you're using that, it's really good to know that the network requirements that they are updated. So new URLs are used within Defender for Cloud Apps. So you need to, if you are using a proxy or firewall to block or open several URLs, regarding the Microsoft ecosystem, you need to have a look at the network requirement update that Defender for Cloud Apps has published. The link will be in the description, but you can find it on the what's new for the Defender for Cloud Apps page. So I will what I said the URL in the description, and you will get it. Other Intune stuff. I saw some AI is. I think AI is big. Copilot is big, and everyone is talking about that. And there is one feature in Windows that's called Recall that will be available in the next version. It's in preview at the moment, but that's doing stuff that most of the people don't want to do on your system, isn't it, Kenneth?
Well, what Recall does is it actually creates a screenshots of what you are doing at a certain point in time, allowing those screenshots to act when you do a search on what you did, when, etc. And it's not really, or in my opinion, it can be a handy feature, but I think Microsoft totally messed up with communicating about what the feature is going to do. On the system itself. Therefore, they actually created a situation where every IT administrator is now saying, we want to block this functionality to start with. Basically, that means that Microsoft also decided that Recall will only be enabled if really explicitly enabled, so it will not be enabled out of the box. And of course, that there should be corresponding CSP settings in order to govern what the AI settings can do on the device. And those settings are now in the settings catalog. So they were available in a custom policy with the CSP settings, but now you can actually easily select them from the GUI, which is a good step forward. And maybe a good example of settings being available before something gets released instead of months after it's being released, which is more common.
Yeah. Yeah, I was triggered by this one. Uger was doing on social media a post on this, so that was what myself made looking into the Learn page and see what's happened. So I think it's good that these kind of settings are available upfront before such a feature is available in Windows, so you can manage that.
You see that Microsoft, the teams are working more closely together. You see it happening more and more. Also for the new 24H2 administrative protection, those settings are there already, and they are still listed as for insider preview only. So which means that those settings were already there. For insider preview, but so they are working closely together to make sure that we can configure things from day zero.
I think we have now reached a point in time where actually releasing CSPs is part of what other products actually release as well. So, and once being released, then it's not a big problem for the Intune team to make them available in the settings catalog. So what we know from experience, that is in some cases settings were not available, but that was because the setting wasn't available at all. So if it's not available to use within Intune, you cannot make it available in the GUI as well. So I think that's a positive outcome that we see nowadays.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, if we talk about settings, then one awaited settings catalog kind of baseline has also been released last month, the 24H2 baseline, security baseline. And that took only a couple of months not as bad as the earlier baseline. So also Microsoft is stepping up there. And then, like we have discussed earlier in sessions, make sure to create your own baselines, review the existing baseline, and create your own baselines based on the baseline of Microsoft, and make sure that you know what you configure and not just enable a new baseline, which can break things.
Yeah, indeed. So and then, the differences between the baselines are not that shocking, to say so. So I think that the best thing what we see now is, of course, that the baseline disables sudo, which is actually a new way to do administrative tasks. There are some settings related to Kerberos and some other minor changes. So in the end, the difference between the two baselines isn't that big, in my opinion. Well, if you compare the baseline though to the official 24H2 security baseline, there are still some major differences in there on a comparison level. That mainly, of course, has to do with the fact that that security baseline, which was released when Windows 11 24H2 was released as well, is mainly built for Active Directory environments. So there are many settings in there which are only applicable to AD environments. But even then, it's not like the settings are totally the same compared to the 24H2 original baseline, when you compare that to the translated baseline, which we see in the MDM baseline for 24H2. But again, in my opinion, companies should wait with rollout of 24H2 until the baseline is there. The baseline is there now, so we can actually continue with rolling out the 24H2, which is good news, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question for me 2 podcasts ago. You said don't enroll. Now that baseline is there, now you're able to enroll.
You know that it's secure, but always keep in mind that there's still can be issues with existing hardware. So always watch also in the active issue list of 24H2 and see if you have hardware or software running which is listed there as a potential blocker for you.
AutoCAD is a problem at the moment.
So if you have AutoCAD broadly installed, then 24H2 is not an option yet. But like Kenneth said, it's we are able to secure it now to configure a good baseline, and make sure to start testing at least. And, use your rings to roll it out if you're confident enough.
Indeed, but maybe good to explain that if it's like a known issue, and even though that you set like a feature update policy to those devices, they won't upgrade because there's like an hold on devices containing that software. And that's something that I see many companies forget. They think, hey, we just fire up the feature update policy and everything will be upgraded. But you need to have good monitoring in order to understand what actually can be upgraded against what devices or maybe what software still has like an what they call an hold on it, where actually maybe upgrade of device drivers or the software itself is needed in order to give a green flag for the feature update to be installed. And I think that's a good way of working. So I think that the chances of things going wrong when you send like a feature update to all the machines in your organizations are reduced by that. But on the other hand, if you get questions, hey, why aren't these devices updated? And you do some further investigations, finding out that they contain like drivers or maybe some other reason. For example, a hard disk which is full, a small recovery partition, to say so. That's something that we should follow up as an admin as well.
Yeah. Talking about changes. Android device management that was announced years ago, in my opinion, had to be deprecated, to be removed.
Yeah, device administrator mode.
Yeah, and I think when looking at the current state, is that we need to move forward on that. I saw a URL somewhere, and that was already for a long time ago. I think it was May last year, so it's almost a year ago. That Microsoft has, and I will post the URL in the description as well, moving Teams Android devices to AOSP device management, so to say. And there is a table in it when firmware will be available for all kind of devices like Logitech Need, the Poly, and that's what triggers me is that all kind of firmware will be available around for the most of the devices. It will be available around March, April this year. So I think it's really the moment to move forward on the newer management of Android devices, isn't it, guys?
That's being done via the Teams Admin Center. But it's important to say that Microsoft did not deprecate support. Google deprecated support for device admin, and already for a long time. But as you say, the vendors of the hardware are a little bit lacking behind in making sure that the firmware is available for those devices to upgrade from an Android version, I don't know what, to Android 15, which support the open source platform. And that's an issue. And I have a Yealink device here, and it's still running Android 7 or 8, and that needs to be upgraded to a later version, which supports the new model. And I think we discussed this also like late last year, because the deprecation officially was announced or set for December. So official support from Intune. But then again, we also have some vendors to work with.
So in this case, we are talking about Teams room devices in most cases, which are
also phones.
They are not connected, so you don't have a keyboard there, and etc. They must be upgraded using firmware, as Peter already mentioned. But the reason why we want that is, of course, on those devices, you actually log in using your account. And therefore, we want to have some compliance policy on that device to make sure that we can allow that login from a conditional access perspective. And that's what we want to accomplish in this case. So therefore, it's actually quite important that once the firmware is available, that you update your devices as soon as possible, but also make sure that you have like configuration policies and compliance policies available to protect that device and make sure that it's compliant, so that it can actually be a first-party citizen within your conditional access environment. And another thing going on, if you want to, you get a new device on that part, either containing the device administrator, or that doesn't really matter. But if you want to onboard that in your organization, that's where we actually use the device code flow, which is also a thingy in conditional access nowadays, where actually the device displays a code, and you can actually use that code on another device to do the login on behalf of the device. And that's something that Microsoft now recommends to block by default using conditional access, and only allow on certain cases. And this is like actually a good example. You should allow it, of course, when somebody onboards a new Teams room administrator device in that case.
Yeah, this is a use case which needs to be excluded. Otherwise, it can be a messy process to onboard those devices with a onboard of a touch keyboard on the screen.
No, indeed, and but we see now that attackers said they actually sent a link to the end user containing instructions on how to use a device code and how to log in.
Yeah.
The end user logs in, and then the attacker or the account is compromised in that case. So for the I think it's better to block it by default and only allow it on an exception basis.
Exactly.
Nice. Talking about authentication. Authentication in general, you explained the device code flow, Kenneth, but device code flow is misused on different scenarios, so to say. When looking at, and I don't say it's used therefore, but when looking at the frontline workers, we have also an update regarding logging in, authentication, and that kind of stuff. So, what kind of update do we see there?
Well, what we see happening is that especially for frontline workers, so people doing very particular tasks within the company, not the usual office worker, to say so. That Microsoft is really seeking on what will be the best way for those people to be able to sign in to devices. And usually we are talking about specific maybe devices purpose-built for the work that they are doing. So maybe scan a package or do other stuff. We already had the option to let people sign in using their telephone number. And they actually received like an MFA code and could actually log in. But that has actually been extended to being able to sign in using a QR code. So what will actually happen is that for those people, a QR code will be generated that can be printed on their badge, for example. And within the apps, they actually now get the option to scan that QR code, making it possible to do actually a sign-in using QR codes, which they can see, and something they have. And also, of course, they prove who they are by typing in a PIN. And to make sure that we understand each other, a PIN doesn't necessarily have to be numeric. It can also be like a password that we provide for the frontline worker in that case. But again, it requires quite some modifications. We have seen in Intune that, for example, the managed home screen now supports signing in using QR code. Teams could already do it. And Microsoft is really focusing on these kind of devices. So don't expect this to start working on a Windows device which has a camera, for example. And so it's really for those frontline worker specific devices that this technology will be added. And for this, a new authentication method policy has been created as well, which we can now see in the Entra portal. And we need to either enable it or disable it and configure it correctly in order to use it.
Yeah, and I think when looking at frontline workers, healthcare, others, if they, for example, if you are a nurse and working on a bed with a person, then you need to use a shared device or kiosk device with Android managed home screen on it, on a tablet, for example, and you need to log in, putting in your UPN, your password, or a push notification on your phone, for example. I think that takes a lot of time, and using a QR code to scan and to log on more easily, it really could help. On the downside of it, if it's a QR code and you can put that sticker on the back of your badge, for example, and you lose your badge, and how easy is it to misuse it that way? So that's maybe a downside, but let's see how that can be mitigated.
Again, you still need the PIN code, but if you allow like 1, 2, 3, 4 as a PIN code, or maybe people also write their PIN code on their badge, you never know. Then it's of course vulnerable in that case. On the other hand, this can only be implemented. As I said, it's for people doing really specific work. And it's also a matter of making sure that those people cannot access business, or maybe business critical data or confidential data, maybe to say so, and only allow them to access the application that they need in order to do their work, which is of course something else than somebody who can see the whole financial system and do everything within that system. So it's part of the solution, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nice.
And
Well, it's a really nice announcement. Erik?
Yeah,
Anything
and the
to
location,
mention?
for example, the tablets use that only that they're only from the hospital, for example. They only work in the hospital because they're not meant to be outside of the hospital, for example. So conditional access for the location you can or a compliant location. So that will be make some more layers to. And then I think it's a user-friendly way, which is of course not 100% secure, but it's work, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Nice. Moving forward on that, and if you want to know more, the URLs are in the description of this video or on the podcast recording. So please have a look at that to learn more on these kind of new features appearing in Entra and Intune. I think we are running almost out of time, but I think we have one last topic, Peter. Windows 365 Disaster Recovery Plus.
Yes, yeah, that's the new that will be a license add-on to Windows 365 Enterprise Edition only. It's currently in preview and basically allows you to configure default cross-region disaster recovery configuration, which basically means if the Amsterdam data center of Microsoft goes down and your cloud PCs are running in that data center, that they will automatically be moved to a different region so that you are able to stay productive and work with that. So basically what happens, it's some kind of replication. So these snapshots will be replicated to an alternative region. So if all regions go down, then you have an issue. But if the alternative region is still up and running, then your disk snapshots will be there to make sure that you are able to get up to speed fairly quickly. So that's in preview, and that will be an add-on to the enterprise licenses.
Yeah. I do think it's cool to see what kind of new functionality they come up with Windows 365. So it's not just a VM running in Azure, which is dedicated for the end user, but they are really finding all kinds of scenarios which they can implement and also make possible by using Windows 365. And even running Windows 365 on top on Mac OS, etc., is working really nicely.
Awesome.
Due to all the different clients, we can now use app protection policies on Android and iOS in order to protect the session and the app running on top of that. So it's becoming more, how do you say that in English? A more mature solution every month.
The other side is from a private cloud perspective. What is the enhancement since Server 2016? Deploying a VDI for a customer is almost licensing-wise a disaster. As your local, if you have VMware, it's not an option. At the moment to migrate and all the learning stuff but there aren't any big announcements in Server 2025 versus Azure Virtual Desktop. So Microsoft is also moving on. All new features are coming in as Virtual. So if you are if you have a customer which is heavily investing on a remote desktop or is needed for a remote desktop, a Citrix is double the price. since last February. So Azure Virtual Desktop is the only investment at the moment which is enhancing new features every time.
Yeah.
It's completely silencing on the server-based computing part, from my opinion.
I totally agree. I think a good example is Microsoft at a certain point in time announcing that M365 apps weren't to be supported anymore running on top of Windows Server. They actually now came back to that decision. But the fact that they actually announced something like that is like, I see that as a signal that maybe that way of working is to be something you should think about on whether it's still plausible to use for the future to come. And then in that case, transitioning to AVD, Windows 365 would be my preferred way forward. Again, I don't have all the knowledge and all the reasoning to go for A or for B, but I do see that happening in the world of Intune management, etc.
You should always make a calculation what solution is feasible for you, if it's AVD or Windows 365. But when Kenneth was saying it's a mature solution, yes, it is. One of my customers, I'm only working via Windows 365, and I can bring my tablet to the office, connected to a dock, and I have a keyboard, I have a mouse. It all works seamlessly and without any issues. So Teams is working perfectly. And you don't need to have a laptop anymore. But if you are really invested in local RDS farms, then you might want to rethink your architecture.
Yeah, but for example, the Teams thing, what you say, Peter, it's all that investigations with all the new features in Teams running on AVD, they're all special made workarounds and things for it. It's not available for RDS. It was on Citrix, but that's double the price.
Yeah, and the full investment is in cloud, and that's a fact. And for on-premises solutions, then you might need to have Citrix indeed to optimize your RDS stream and make sure to offload your Teams video and audio.
Or Azure
that
Local.
Comes with a cost.
Azure Local is also AVD supported, so that will be an option. Or hoping VMware, AVD for VMware.
Nice.
You never know, Erik. Never say never on that case, but I do understand. Let's see.
To finish up, I think a lot of updates within the area we're working in, especially E5 security for Business Premium is a huge enhancement. So do another mention on that. To finish up, we had our first meetup in the Netherlands in Gorinchem. It was early February. We elaborate on that in the previous recording. A really awesome event. The next one is hosted by Cirrus. That will be when is it, Kenneth, Peter? And do you have information?
1st of April, no joke.
1st of April.
The 1st of April. I think already all places are covered, isn't it? So
yeah, we are already sold out on that thing. That doesn't mean if you really want to come, we do see that last minute people actually decide not to come. We have a waiting list. There are currently 3 people on the waiting list. So based on experience, the chances are quite high that those people can attend the event. Yeah. So if you would like to come, feel free to RSVP on the meetup page. And the event itself is a little bit different than what we do normally. So we actually Cirrus, the party hosting the event is organizing a Capture the Flag for us. So it's also important that you bring your own laptop and in order to participate in the Capture the Flag. Will be really interesting and something else for a change, which is nice as well.
Yeah, and the next one, meeting 3 for this year, that's on May 14. You can already RSVP on that. That will be, what is it? Is that a barbecue edition, normal event?
I
It's a
think.
people rock thing then.
It was when I look
Yeah, that's a
when I'm looking at
barbecue edition. Yeah.
yeah. So on the May 14, if you want join, if you want to join us for some good technical sessions that not already announced, but they will be announced up front the event, and you will join some. Are you liking some barbecue food? Please join us then. Have a look at our website, WPNinjas.nl, where all the links to Meetup and all the schedules are available. So join us in person or virtual in one of our recordings. So thanks for joining me in this recording, guys.
Yeah.
And if you are watching or listening, hit the subscribe button. Definitely give us a review so we can learn and we can optimize our recordings on that. For now, I say until next time, see you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.